maybe then over to you, Freddie.
Thank you so much, Susanne. Thank you, Hamish and Jose, and thank you everybody for putting this event together. So I'm going to keep it a little more high level in the interest of time, of course, and just situate it on my background as a serial entrepreneur and the fact that we are at the University of San Francisco, we're basically surrounded with all these frameworks and mindsets of disruption, of figuring out a better way to increase process, but mindful that, we're looking for
on the website,
the outcome, which is improving lives, mitigating pain and suffering, which is something that keeps us grounded. So these are some of the subjects that I have taught here in my career at USF, which informs the thinking of what we believe should be taught. And of course, part of what we've been talking here is about global health informatics, but there are other topics that I think that are important, which includes, of course, especially in our case, which we get a lot of students who are students who come from outside the healthcare system who want to basically bring their capabilities, their expertise, and their assets into making an impact here. So some of the things here we're going to touch more as we go through that include, mobile health informatics. As you can see, we believe this is a pretty important piece, especially in the global South, given that, we will be able to leapfrog some of the technologies. And I'm pretty excited with this new class, and I'm going to touch more on it, which is generative AI, which we think we owe to our students, to our ecosystem, and especially to the global South, because this is going to be an amazing opportunity for them to leapfrog some of the technologies and get ahead, if you will, in some areas to the global North. Next one, please. So again, keeping it very high level, the way we think about it here is we think about it in three buckets, if you will. Given the richness of Jose's and Hamish and your context, and Sunny, I think if there's something I want you to take out of here is like, if we were to think about this in three buckets, bucket one is some of the tech skills that we encourage our learners and we encourage everyone involved in the ecosystem to build, i.e. data analytics, because, to the extent that everything's data driven, this day we got to think about that. Human-centered interactions, again, our distinguished panelists have talked about it. It's not technology for the technology's purpose. It's how do I go about interacting with the most important players, and Hamish mentioned, which is front end users. So it's thinking about how on systems, not only on data. And of course, something that we get to do here, which is project and change management. This is a team sport, which is what I tell my learners. This is not somebody sitting in a room, coding away or designing systems. We need to work with a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders to make sure that, we get the desired impact. So again, these are the tech skills that we encourage everybody to build. Applications is, okay, what do I do with all of these? At least at the minimum, and I know in resource constrained settings, is some of the country focus that we have, electronic medical records is a key piece. So to the extent that we gotta get good at something, and Hamish leads one of those good with OpenMRS, that we gotta make sure that we make sure our learners manage that. Interoperability, because we don't work in a vacuum, and if we look at any settings, whether here in the global North or in the South, we have all these systems that don't talk to each other. So we gotta think about, interoperability. Telemedicine and mobile applications, because again, lack of connectivity, the fact that some of these devices gotta be inexpensive. So these are things that we need to manage as the application level. And the mindset that could be the more controversial piece especially with the transformational, and I'm very intentional about starting a generative AI because it's a very promising technology that encourage everybody to think about it. Ethics at the top, making sure that we don't deploy applications just to deploy them. Security, and Jose talked about it. I mean, we see all the newspapers all the time. It's pretty crazy that some of these systems are designed with technology not in mind. We need to think about, I mean, security, technology, security, and of course, be mindful of context. Next one, please, Cesar. And again, on the front line, we touch about it. You know, if you think about this in very simple takeaways, we need the foundational knowledge to provide essential understanding of health informatics, and all the panelists talk about this one. Leadership, because this is a team sport. We have different individuals with different skills that, to the extent that, you know, I'm good at one specific things. If I cannot interact with others in the health ecosystem, most likely my goals are going to be diminished. Workflow integration, those of us in the technology side and the data side, lose track, and then we wonder why some of these applications, especially in the global south, that we say, oh, this works here in San Francisco or in Philadelphia or in Boston or what have you, why don't they work down there? Because we need to think about those front-end users, as Hamish mentioned, to make sure that we follow the workflow, that we understand what is it that is being done and what are the areas to improve. Next one, please. And then a continuation of that is, again, global health context. And in my classes, especially, I encourage my learners to think about, and we spend a lot of time understanding and going pretty deep on global south systems, whether it's India, whether it's countries in Africa, whether it's in Asia, to understand what is it that they have done well, given their constrained resources, and what is it that we can learn and apply to other countries. I mean, especially learners from the global south believe that we in the US have the best healthcare systems, and those of us here understand that that's not true. So what is it that we can learn from what have we done well and what we haven't, and be humble enough to be able to bring it and to adapt it to the local context. Data security and privacy, again, I cannot stress enough about this, because as we move, and here especially in this country, as we rush into moving all the paper into electronic medical records, I guess security and compliance and what have you wasn't the part of it. So I encourage everybody who's touching this system to think about this concept. And again, Gen AI, mobile health, and telehealth. If nothing else, those three pieces there gotta be something that we, all of us, no matter what our role is in the ecosystem, needs to get familiar, especially in the global south, because this is gonna impact underserved communities. This is gonna expand the lives of people. Next one. Again, me and my bubbles. So system thinking. Why? Because, again, there's a lot learnings out there. We can learn from other success and failures and understand how do we go about deploying that, and making sure, especially those of us who are fortunate enough that are here in the US, anytime we think about deploying and working and collaborating, we gotta be humble enough to see how this fits within the system. And again, that's why we spend a lot of time in our classes breaking down systems in India, in Africa, in Asia, and Latin America, to understand within their countries, how they're shaped. Well, I mean, Chile, and it's a long country, and then you see how the system is organized and what are the impact in technology and data and application. And again, Gen AI ethics, because again, as Jose mentioned, we're getting very excited about the technology, but we need to think about the ethical implications and where does it apply. So focus on transformational technologies, because we are thinking on resource constrained countries. Next one. Oh, there's one more that I guess, did I miss? No, it's okay. So let's go to our bubbles. So again, there is a slide somewhere that says at the top, Sensani, on the technology. So I want to make sure that we understand. So there is technologies and there is applications. In touching on them, no worries. So what is it that I want everybody to take here is be humble, learn from others' mistakes and success, understand what works, what it doesn't, understand this is a team sports, if you will. We work with individuals in the ecosystem with different mindsets and interactions. And I encourage you to think about an opportunity not having incumbents, especially in the global south. This might be the time for you to leapfrog, as has happened in other industries, leveraging on the knowledge. So thank you again for the opportunity.
All